We've had some pretty big news hit, not only over the last 24 hours, but over the past 2 weeks too, and because of the amount of stuff that we've had with live streams and gameplay being sent to us, we haven't had an opportunity to look at what the devs are saying on stuff like Twitter and also Reddit. Today we're going to be talking about the progress of the alpha and some of the issues that they want to amend during it. We've had a brief glimpse of the beta, a small mention but a notable one, and also when their next livestream could be. We'll also be covering stuff like the customization, the vanity gear which you saw in the thumbnail, and also stuff like difficulties. Then we'll be finishing up with some general answers such as will there be sniper rifles in Anthem? My name is Ryan Central and welcome back to another Anthem video. Let's start from the very beginning, the alpha. So the alpha's been going for about maybe 6 weeks at this point, with the Bioware guys and also other developers from other EA games being able to try out Anthem behind closed doors. And yesterday, the first closed alpha test came to a close. We know this because Ben Irving on the Anthem subreddit posted saying about what they learned and what they need to improve on. I won't read it all, it's a pretty long post, I'll put it in the description if you want to check it out. But just to sort of paraphrase, Anthem is now an alpha and we've passed a major milestone with our first closed alpha test. We ran tests, did hotfixes and adjusted servers on the fly, the way we will when the game is live. Even though it was a technical test, we wanted to encourage feedback on the limited content that was available. Only the first 3 missions in the game were available, and all the pilots were capped at level 5. The 4 major areas that were highlighted were loot, missions, progression and playing with friends. Loot is such a huge area that's been a big topic of discussion that I'm definitely leaving that to another video. For missions, players let them know that they wanted more challenges sooner, and that has a lot to do with difficulties, which we will be talking a lot about later on in this video. And players felt that there wasn't a lot to do because, as I said, only the first 3 missions in the game were in there, one of them being that Arcanist mission that we saw in Paris. Progression talked a lot about the Forge and how confusing it was for some players. We will be talking about the Forge a lot in another video. And also playing with friends, some players felt it was hard to find their teammates. They ran into difficulties trying to form a group with friends, and they couldn't always tell if their teammates had successfully joined their party. As I said, it was a pretty big post and I just wanted to highlight in a general sense what some of the areas were focuses. But I'm really impressed with the transparency and the fact that we've been updated in this fashion. There seems to be a lot more work to be done. This is only really the start of the alpha testing, but ultimately I think it is a good first sign. We get to understand a little bit more about why we haven't seen certain things, such as the Forge. It was a pretty big post, and I don't want to spend the majority of this video focusing on that, but we will move on to what naturally comes next after an alpha, the beta. Now we don't have as much information on there, but I did think that this response was fairly interesting. Georgius asked on Twitter if there's any inclination as to when a public alpha or beta may be seen, and Michael Gamble says that they're still working specifics out, can't give you dates right now pal, sorry.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
At least that was my initial reaction when I first heard this news. It seems that it definitely is on the cards, and much like a lot of games it would be, right? I don't think Anthem is going to be any different with how it's going to approach a beta, but the question is whether it's going to be a closed beta, open beta, or just a technical beta that only some people can get into. Like I said, it isn't a huge thing that's been talked about, but it does give us a little bit more information that it's seemingly going to happen, but as Michael said, they're still working stuff out and they can't give out dates. I got a question answered actually by Ben Irving. Straight after the live stream on Thursday, I didn't want to sound too entitled or not appreciative of the stream as I said, but I did wonder when the next stream would be. Ben Irving jokingly says soon, but then adds on saying that hopefully the next week or the week after. The topic of conversation in the next live stream doesn't seem to be sorted out just yet, some people saying that it's definitely going to be the Forge or loot personalization, but Ben said not yet but soon, yet again. So you won't be waiting around too long for the next live stream, but maybe don't expect them every single week. Now I want to talk about how your Javelin will look. We got a lot of new information about cosmetics and vanity gear, but also we got to see some really cool screenshots that I wanted to show off. We of course got to see Michael Gamble's Storm and Ben Irving's Interceptor and the colour customization options that they had there. But Michael Gamble on Twitter showed us off this Interceptor that was customized by Angry Space B and it looks awesome. Somebody wanted to know if the screenshot was taken from in-game, and Angry Space B said it is in-game, they turned off the UI in an area where you can customize your suit, so no doubt the Forge. For other customization options on how it would look, Daiki asks if you can have a worn or wear and tear look on your Javelin. Mike Darrett says yes. Is there going to be a Dragon Blood skin in Anthem, just like there's an N7 skin? Mike Darrett says probably, but they haven't made it yet. Will there be any accessories such as a top hat, wings, or a massive cloak? Macdara says not at launch at least. Remember that the Storm is the only Javelin that can have a cloak. Will there be heavy character customization like in Mass Effect, or will there just be set presets for your faces of your freelancer? Macdara says pilot customization is more limited, they put more effort into the Javelins. And did they plan to show off more of the character creation customization tools prior to Anthem's launch? Mark says yes. Now on to colours of Javelin. Mark was asked if there's going to be palettes that can be unlocked, a colour wheel, or will skins come with colours pre-decided. Mark says yes to all of these, which is great news, because I hate the shader settings in stuff like Destiny 2. Warframe has amazing personalisation. If it could be more like that, then great. Now I want to talk about difficulties. It was an area that got a lot of people talking about it. If you didn't know, the gameplay from the live stream on Thursday was played on the second difficulty out of 3. But what is interesting is that they aren't the only difficulties in the game. Those difficulties were known as Lancer, Freelancer and Master for the leveling game, and they were playing on Freelancer, and it is worth noting that they did struggle a little bit at the time, but that might be because they're undergeared or underleveled. On a different tweet with the same answer, Michael Gamble responds saying that it's free before endgame, right Ben? And Ben does confirm this into another answer for me. I heard you said that there was 3 introductory difficulties, does it mean that there's more than those 3 mentioned? And he says yes it does, smiley face. No. I've heard rumours that it's going to be maybe like Diablo with the torment levels that they have in there, which honestly I would absolutely adore. In a game like this, having those difficulties even just makes open world messing about look way more difficult, but most importantly it gives you reasons to go back to those missions to get better gear. But again, I want to talk about that some other time. For the Paris Games Week stream, do you know what difficulty they were playing on? Max says likely the easiest, it certainly seemed that way. And just to reiterate, Macdara says that when you start a mission, you set the difficulty, which you do see a brief glimpse of in the Colossus Stronghold mission right at the bottom there. You see? Cool. The number of players does affect the difficulty. For example, if you're on the medium difficulty, the enemies will scale if there's 4 of you as opposed to 1 or 2 of you. That's also worth noting and is also pretty cool. And the impact of the difficulty gives you more experience and more loot. And finally we get to Macdara's Twitter corner, but I do want to blast through some of these questions. I had about 70 tweets in total, so I just wanted to narrow them down to really important questions as opposed to, say, the usual questions that get answered time and time again. Glenn wanted to know what these domes were in the Paris livestream. Max says that they are temporary markers for landmarks. They still don't know the minimum PC requirements of anything yet, so do bear that in mind. If you're in a group and you go into Fort Tarsis and then come back out, you'll still be in the squad. There's no ceiling height requirement for the Storm's lightning strike ability. As a reminder, you choose which Javelin you want to unlock at level 5. The health globes that fall from enemies whilst you're out on missions are instanced, so your teammates can't steal them from you, but they also get them too. There will be a lore codex like in Mass Effect for in-game lore, which is great to be honest. And they also recently changed the storms so they wouldn't have infinite hover. They deemed it too strong. Free play is when you leave the fort without a mission selected, which is good for exploration, gathering crafting materials, events, lore, what we saw on Thursday, basically. The dodge ability isn't really a gear slot, and some enemies will be resistant and weaker to particular element attacks. Is there an option to prefer frame rate or graphics on console, or is it locked to say 30 FPS? And Macdara says for the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X that they're looking into it. The majority of Twitter posts that actually came in this week were from Ben Irving. Your Anthem wanted to know what the cable thing is called. Ben Irving says it's the repair thingy. I mean, great. Off the top of his head, he doesn't know the taunt cooldown, but it does vary based on the gear piece how long a cooldown is. Once we know more, I'll be sure to let you know. About halfway into the livestream on Thursday, there was a lot of problems with Mike having to awkwardly describe where an enemy was. Ben says that they're adding some other things first to make this easier, because the suggestion was to add numbering much like you would in Blackout for example, to help you work out where certain targets are. Iceman had a question about the Storm's wind wall. It remained on the battlefield even though the cooldown had replenished, and Ben Irving says it has a timer and health and will be removed whenever the first one expires or whether you place another. So maybe it lasts just a bit too long. But it is the alpha, they're all about balance and stuff right now. And they know how many pre-orders that Anthem gets, but they can't tell us. But they do say that you may be able to infer something from the earning call. I definitely want to talk about this some other time, because the earning call says that they're doing pretty good, so that's good news. On the subject of free play, I asked if you will see other players if you're not in a group. Ben says if you find them, yes, up to 4 per server. Honestly, it'd be nice to see more people roaming around, but whatever. They are going back and forth on the idea of whether they will have fall damage or not have fall damage. And he also won an award. EA Austin was named a top workplace in Austin. Congratulations, guys. That's Ben Irving's combat team, I believe, but good job. The squad leader picks for the squad what they will be doing, so don't give it to me. I'll put us on the hardest difficulty and throw us into the worst stronghold over and over again. Andy wanted to know how big the map is. Ben says it's hard to compare because of the flying and swimming. It's pretty big though. I guess with that kind of thing you need to measure by volume. And that goes over everything in this video. I am completely knackered after doing this. There's been so much news and there's still more to go over, so do look out for those videos by subscribing to the channel and keeping up to date with all of the Anthem news. I'm going to go lay down. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Take care.